Lynn, Megan, Matthew, Kyle, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Gustafson, and I'm here to introduce my father, Gustafson, as one of this year's Father of the Year recipients. As I was preparing for the introduction, I was thinking about what makes my dad a Father of the Year. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there are two main characteristics that stood out for me personally. First off, you know what you're getting. By that I mean the person you meet today is the same person who has mentored me and my siblings for these past years. He is a happy-go-lucky guy who is always, maybe to a fault, trying to spread and share his knowledge. I also don't recall ever seeing him yell at us. Whenever I do disappoint him, however, I beat myself up much more than any yelling could do. And secondly, not a day goes by where he hasn't tried to make us laugh. It truly means a lot to know that whenever we have bad days, there's always somebody trying to make us laugh and to make us realize that there's a lot to be happy with in life. All that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce my math tutor, my chauffeur, my musical guide, and among many other things. Most importantly, my dad, Gustafson.
Good evening. I came to sit down. I'm going to feel better looking at them versus I've been back here. My kids were born just the other day. They came in the world in the usual way. But there were planes to catch and bills to pay. For those of you who are chuckling, or a few that I would have hoped, by the way, you know that's the beginning words of the song. Cats in the cradle, circle gets the square for the young lady. Cats in the cradle. The reason I brought that up is because it was one of the two aspects of pop culture that had influence over me at a young age has become what kind of father I am now. I remember thinking to myself as a child hearing that song that even though his child ended up okay, with the exception of the sick child and a busy job, I still did not want to be that dad who was always away and on a trip when they're learning to walk and learning to talk. And the only time they would be spending time is to borrow the car keys. That was not the father I wanted to be. The other aspect of pop culture that had influence over me was the Steve Martin character in the movie Parenthood. If anybody remembers seeing that, there's one scene in particular. It's a critical Little League baseball game, and Steve Martin's child is in the outfield late in the game. And there's a high pop to the child, and while the ball is in the air, the Steve Martin character visualizes what his child's life would be both if he caught the ball or if he dropped the ball. And as you can imagine, if he caught the ball, it was accolades, it was carried off the field. But I always remember the scene in the movie where he remembers what would his child's life be like if he dropped the ball, and there it is, fast forwarding 20 years, and his child is on a clock tower with the rifles taking pot shots and cop cars. Why did you make me join baseball? And I always remember at one point he took a shot and Steve Martin carried the step outside and said, "Good shot, son, good shot." Like even then he was finding moments of positive reinforcement. Here's the son at the top of a clock tower with a rifle, and he's still giving him positive reinforcement. I said, that's the kind of guy I want to be. I thought it was son on a clock tower. There's always room for positive reinforcement. I had three other influences as a child. I want to talk a little about influences that helped me become the man I am today. My brother, my mother, and my father. They're all here. I want to talk a few minutes about each of them. What I learned from my brother, and I'm going to just choose like one item from each, I learned from all of them, is the value of commitment. As a child, if I had a dollar bill in my pocket, it would burn its way through. And it was a candy bar in the future or a toy in the dollar store. He, on the other hand, would save his money, and he's 9 years my junior, save and get that big wheel, or get the video game deal. He learned that I want to be committed to what I want, saved towards it. Here's a young man who was interested in science as a child, went to school for environmental science, and is currently an environmental scientist. So not only did he is he doing a job for what he loved, and when he went to college for, which how many people are doing that right now? I know I'm not. He's actually making a difference in our day. As an insurance broker, I'm pushing papers, there's not really much going on there. I'm happy to provide for my family. This man is actually making a difference in our lives, making this world a better place. And I just wanted to tell him, I couldn't be any prouder of the man he is, of the father he is, of the husband he is, and you are equally as deserving to be up here as I am. And I know we have our little competitions here, but I wanted to make sure we can say that, because I don't say it enough. I'm extraordinarily proud of him. She talked a lot, but the most important thing she told me, and this is, if there's one thing I could impart onto you, is the value of open lines of communication. And sometimes our communication would be in the form of fights, but it was still communication. Now, what I've learned, and this is not just as a dad, this is as a Board of Ed member, this is as a boss of many employees, is when you don't communicate, as I said in the video, it builds in, and eventually it explodes. My wife and I are approaching our 20th anniversary. I'm not going to say not one fight, my friends could validate that. And part of that is because they open lines of communication, and part of that is because of the lessons my mother taught me. So I am so appreciative, and I recommend, don't be afraid to, sometimes by just saying what you feel, you release it, and you feel better immediately. I strongly recommend that, and that's a lesson I learned from my mom. Thank you, Mom. And last but not least is my dad, and I can think, oh, here we go, what is this all about? And it took me a little time to think about what lessons I learned from him. And first of all, I should share with you that by the purest definition, he's my stepdad. He married my mom when I was 6, and if you've seen him and how he works towards me, how he treats me, since that day you would have no idea that he wasn't my biological father. And since that day, he's been my dad, and I'm so appreciative of that, Dad. Thank you very much. What I learned from him is, don't sweat the details. I always joke, I live a stress-free life. And with the exception of a recent board election, my superintendent of schools is here, and he knows that was a little stressful. I was just re-elected as a board of ed member. Thank you, Dr. Smith, by way of being here. Besides that, I tend to live a stressful life. And how do I go about doing that? As I learned from him, don't sweat the details. If you have no control over it, there's no sense stressing over it. And it really does work for me. And I'm going to fast forward now several years where that lesson is most paramount to me. It's a late summer day. I worked at AIG, downtown New York. We're in the coffee shop next door waiting for our office to reopen. And all of a sudden, we see hundreds of people running past the coffee shop at top speed. Every single person in that coffee shop got up and left, and ran out behind them. Employees, guests, and the date was 9/11/2001, and what those people were running from was the collapse of the First World Trade Center. And I was part of the group that walked from downtown New York that fateful day and to Penn Station, and I'm not looking for any sympathy. There's a lot of people in this world who lost a lot more people close than I did. But what I learned that day is the same lesson my dad taught me is, anything can happen to you at any point of any day. Live your life, enjoy your life, take care of what's important because you never know. And that really had a profound influence as influences. And when I think back on that fateful day, I think about the lesson of the professor and the pickle jar and the golf course. Anybody ever hear that one? I'm going to share it with you. The professor takes out a pickle jar, goes into the top of golf clubs. He asks his class, is the pickle jar full? They say yes. He then grabs a bucket of pebbles, and he fills the pebbles into the pickle jar to the very top, and it fills all the spaces between the golf balls. And he asks them, is the pickle jar full now? And they say yes. He then gets a bucket full of sand, and he fills the pickle jar with the sand, and the sand falls between all the holes, between the pebbles, to the very top, and he pats it down, and he says, is the pickle jar full now? And they say yes. He then reaches down into the refrigerator and grabs an ice cold beer, and he pours the beer on top of the sand, and sure enough, it fills it up. And he says, what's the moral of the story? This is critical to why we're here tonight. He says, the moral is the golf balls represent what's important in our lives. Our health, our family, our friends. The pebbles represent our job, our car, our finances, and the sand represents everything else. Your Facebook posts, complaining, vacuuming. And the moral of the story is if you fill the sand first, if you take care of the small things first, you can't fill it with what's important. And what's so important are the golf balls. Our health, our family, our friend, and that's why we're here, to support the American Diabetes and to make sure that we're taking care of our family, make sure we're taking care of our friends. And I'm going to really briefly share what's going on in my life with regards to diabetes, because that's what we are. I want to first by starting thanking the American Diabetes Association for this wonderful event. I'm just a big fan. This is fantastic. Thank you. I have two very quick stories, and Charlie's going to me. I promise you'll be very quick, Charlie. My uncle, Tank, his name is Tank. They call him Uncle Tank because as the story is told, he got hit by a Volkswagen at a very young age, and the Volkswagen took more damage than he did. And his kids are all that I want to thank my three cousins and their families for being here, the son, the daughters of Uncle Tank. He stepped on a tack, and as you know with diabetes, you don't have feeling in your feet. He didn't realize that happened. He is now in a wheelchair, much less with his leg amputated. He recently had a toe amputated on the other foot. He gets dialysis 3 times a day. This disease has taken so much of him, much more than he ever has a right to have taken from him. And I want to thank them all for attending here, and I think about it, particularly as I learn more about this terrible disease. And I want to thank my friends. We're about 3/4 of the group, the gang, and the 1/4 who's not here is Mark Ores. He's in Pennsylvania, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 21. And I'll tell you one quick story about him. We're having a barbecue, and real quick, Charlie, I promise, real quick. And he gives himself, I saw him give his first shot. I saw him put in his first pump, and he gives himself the shot, and we're cooking the food, and I guess his level was not right enough, and all of a sudden, he grabs the salt shaker and puts it on the dinner table. And then he gets the pepper shaker and puts it on the dinner table, okay? Then he grabs the paprika. All right, Mark, what's going on? This is not normal. Then he grabs the cumin and the sage, and he starts putting them all in. Mark, sit down. Something's going on, Mark. This is my first-hand experience with the diabetic attack right there and then. And we're yelling at him, Mark, sit down. Have some orange, sit down. Why are you yelling at me? And then he starts putting the spices. He's fixated on his spices. Up and down, up and down. And eventually we gave him some orange juice, and it was fine shortly thereafter. But I was scared to bejesus over what I was watching. We had no idea, and I realized that this is an extraordinarily serious disease. And I'm so grateful we were able to help him, and I'm so grateful that he's taking care of himself. Real last, I'm going to just close by thanking my family. I want to just comment on my wife and 3 kids. My beautiful wife, we've been together for 20 years. Thank you very much. Not one fight. My daughter Megan, my son Matthew, my son Kyle. They're the 3 best kids that Dad could ever have. And I'm just so proud of them. I'm so grateful to my kids. I'm such a better person for knowing them. And I just want to close with one thing. I'm going to ask all of you to join me. If you know the words to overcome your fears, are you ready? And the cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and a man on the moon. When you come home, that I don't know when. We'll get together then, son. You know we'll have a good time then. Thank you very much.
Your father has requested a DNA test, by the way. But who better to present this award than Matthew, his son? Matthew?